This morning for the Extreme Curator Challenge, I'm at the Altitude Centre in central London, where we're going to be looking at hypoxia, which is low oxygen levels. And a lot of animals have to deal with low oxygen levels, especially if they live up a mountain, for example, if they fly at high altitudes. So I want to see what it's like if I'm exposed to low oxygen levels. Okay, so this shows us the approximate altitude that we're about to go in and experience. The oxygen percentage of that altitude will probably be around 14%. At ground level, sea level rather, it's normally around 21%. So that's quite a significant decrease in the amount of oxygen that I'll be getting into my body, which will be interesting to experience. It's something weird. For us to get the oxygen we need, we have to take it from the air directly. We breathe in, it goes into our lungs, which fill with air, and we have a moist lining on the lungs. And the oxygen that's in the air dissolves into the moisture in our lungs and gets absorbed into our system. That's how it works. So lung capacity is quite an important factor when it comes to getting oxygen from the outside environment into our bodies. And this little device here is just a way of measuring your lung capacity. So I'm going to blow down this and see how I do. So what my lung capacity is like. Not bad. See that? It's off the scale. Well, not quite. So in theory, my lung capacity is pretty good. So that means I should be able to get plenty of oxygen from even the low levels of oxygen in this room. So if it's going to be that easy, I should probably step up and try to go for something a little bit more difficult. Either trying to exercise in this sort of environment, which is what, there's a load of exercise equipment in here because athletes come in to train in these low oxygen levels because it improves their performance at high oxygen levels. Or I can go on this, which is the pod. And this can take you down at resting levels, because otherwise you can die, to very, very high altitude. It stimulates going on, say, for example, the top of Everest. Okay, so I'm all strapped up to the pod. I have my heart monitor here, which will start telling me when my heart's working harder to get blood around my body, which is trying to increase the amount of oxygen back towards my cells. So that will tell me basically when my body is beginning to get starts of oxygen, which is nice. Okay, I'm going to press the start program button. Okay, so I've been on the mast for 5 minutes and I've got a little graph here which shows that my heart rate has increased while I've been on the oxygen at low levels. And that's because my heart rate increases to get more blood around my body because it's making sure enough oxygen is being transported around. And of course, the blood is really important for transporting oxygen. It contains hemoglobin, which is a molecule which traps oxygen molecules, takes them around the body and then disengages when you need the oxygen. Really, really important stuff. So some animals deal with low oxygen levels in the air around them by increasing the amount of blood they have. So I know the tufted duck does this. And it does that because you can't always increase your lung capacity to increase the amount of oxygen you're getting. Something like a yak is fine, it doesn't have to fly, and it doesn't have to dive. So something like a tufted duck does dive, and because it dives, it goes underwater. You don't want to be more buoyant than you need to be, otherwise you can't stay underwater. So having big lungs is a massive disadvantage for something like a tufted duck. Instead, they rely on having more blood in their bodies and really, really special form of hemoglobin, which is really super efficient at taking oxygen from the air around it and delivering it around the body. Okay, I just did my second 5-minute stint and I feel a lot more lightheaded than the first one. I certainly feel a bit woozy, which is quite good. And the graph showing my heart rate, my pulse, and the amount of oxygen in my blood has definitely dropped below a certain point on the amount of oxygen in my blood. It turns out I'm handling the low oxygen quite well, either because I'm fitter than I thought I was, or maybe something to do with, I don't know, big lung capacity. But I'm going to go higher now in terms of altitude and see how I do with even less oxygen. Okay, I've just came off a low oxygen question, the lowest so far, and you're not supposed to stand up or talk really after doing that, but I'm going to have a go and just see how I react. Carefully, of course. Whoa! Very lightheaded. In fact, just going to have a little sit down. Very odd experience. My head is very, very light. Interesting. Very, very interesting experience. It's one way of describing it. Well, I'm still sitting down because my head is still recovering from 9.5% oxygen. I don't know how yaks manage to survive their entire lives in that low oxygen concentration. It's a remarkable feat, and it's a real extreme adaptation to an extreme environment. And if you're interested in finding out more about extreme environments and the animals that live in them, you can come to the Horniman Museum from the 15th of February, where we have our Extremes exhibition, where you can come and see the animals as taxidermy specimens and experience some of the situations firsthand.